Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, May 30. In Squiz Kids Today, Big Wet watched from space. South Africa off to the poles. Here comes Garfield, and Home Alone house hits the market. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
Whip out your wellies and crack out the brollies. It's going to be a wet weekend as a 4,000-kilometre band of cloud settles in over the entire country. It's called a northwest cloud band, and it's a massive weather system that will dump rain everywhere from Kimberley in the north of Western Australia right on down to Tassie, with 80% of our big old country expected to cop a drenching. Now, that's excellent for farmers who love this sort of consistent rain to help grow their crops and to help break what's been a really dry autumn for so many parts of the country. But it's not so great for weekend sports playing kids and their families, as anxious kids and parents all over the country will be nervously checking their phones this Saturday morning to see whether footy, soccer, netball or cricket has been cancelled again. The Northwest Cloud Band is the first to arrive in Australia this year, and it comes as news also arrives this week of a brand new cloud surveying satellite that's taken to the skies above our heads, nicknamed the White Dragon. The White Dragon satellite took off from Earth last week and is now in orbit 400 kilometres above our heads. Its job is to study clouds, and specifically how different types of clouds help to cool the planet and which ones tend to warm it up. The satellite is called EarthCare because the data it collects will help scientists better understand the impact that clouds have on climate change. So clever.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in South Africa, where the country today goes to the polls. So what does goes to the polls mean? It means that they are having an election, so the country's 27 million voters can decide who leads them. It's kind of like your school captain elections at school, but on a much bigger scale. So, why is this election so significant? Well, because it could see a change of government for the first time in 30 years. For the past 30 years, a party called the African National Congress has been in power in South Africa. The ANC, as it's also known, was led by a really important man in the history of South Africa and indeed the world, a man called Nelson Mandela. And if you've never heard of him, let me give you the tip. He's definitely worth researching.
Pop Culture Corner.
Everyone's favourite lasagna munching cat Garfield returns to the big screen today as the newest movie featuring the orange fuzzball hits cinemas. And this time, Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic Park actor Chris Pratt provides the voice of Garfield. Rock on! And speaking of cinemas, you've seen the movie Home Alone, right? When Kevin gets left at home by himself when his family go on a Christmas vacation and he has to fight off robbers who are trying to break in. Well, the house from that movie has gone on sale in the United States. For a cool $6 million, you could own the house, which apparently has its own indoor basketball half-court. Cool. $6 million is a lot of money, but really, what price could you put on a house where you can shoot hoops inside and presumably still sled down the inside stairs like Kevin did in Home Alone? Sign me up.
News hounds.
Every Thursday, Squizzy the Newshound sticks his head into Squiz Kids HQ and reports back on fishy things he's sniffed out on the internet. And with no fewer than 64 elections taking place in countries all over the world this year, including in South Africa, as we heard in Spin the Globe, Squizzy has been extra busy with a spike in disinformation. Now, if you've done Newshounds, our free media literacy program for primary school kids, you'd know that disinformation is information that is not true, but is nevertheless spread by people who generally want to cause trouble. It's especially common around the time of elections, where people tell all sorts of lies and spread them on social media especially to try to get their candidate elected. Luckily, governments around the world are starting to do something called pre-bunking, which is a fancy word for getting people used to the tricky methods used by tricky fakers to help people recognise fake information when they come across it. It's like we learned in Session 3 of Newshounds, and it's like Squizzy is telling us week after week. It's super important whenever we come across any information online, be it on YouTube or a news website or TikTok or Instagram, to stop, think, and check before believing that it's true. Thanks, Squizzy. You've done it again.
Q&A call out.
A big thanks to everyone who sent in questions for our next Squiz Kids Q&A with the amazing Arisa Trew. Arisa, as we've been mentioning all week, is one of Australia's most exciting up-and-coming sporting talents. As the world's number 2 female skateboarder at only 14 years old, can you believe it? She's currently hoping to make the Aussie Olympic team and skate for Australia in the upcoming Paris Olympics. How amazing would that be? But before any of that happens, she's kindly agreed to sit down and take the Squiz Kids hot seat and take part in a Squiz Kids Q&A, answering any questions that you might have for her. Did you know that Arisa is the first female to do a 720 in competition? That's 2 360s, which is frankly nuts. How does she juggle school and being a professional skateboarder? Who are her heroes and role models? And what would it mean for her to wear the green and gold in Paris? So many questions to ask, but you better get cracking. You've only got until the end of today to get your questions in. So send them quick sticks to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What is the name of the important political figure in South Africa we talked about in the Spin the Globe? Well done if you said Nelson Mandela. Question number 2. Name one of the 2 other film franchises that Garfield actor Chris Pratt has starred in. Yes, well done to those of you who said Guardians of the Galaxy or Jurassic Park. Question number 3, still on pop culture. The house from which popular kids' movie has just gone on sale in the United States? Yes, of course, it's the house from Home Alone.
Shout-outs.
It's May 30. Today is the International Day of the Potato. I don't know about you, but I'm planning to celebrate by eating a large fries. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. And because it's Reconciliation Week, we'll be using the traditional names of the towns from which our shouties come from, with a special shout out, of course, to all of our First Nations listeners. Happy birthday today to Nahul from Cannon Hill in Turrbal and Jaggera country, to Amelia from Unandarra in Dharawal country, to Henry from Lorne in Garabinad country, Sunny from Cardiff South in Awakabal country, Zane from Eleonora in Combermary country, Sienna from Kirrawee in Dharawal country, Hudson from Dora Creek in Awakabal country, Ernest from Macquarie Park in Wallamadigal country, Luca from Bayswater in Wurundjeri country, Fenton from Runaway Bay in Juggera and Turrbal country, and also to his teacher, the awesome Ms. Lesko at the Southport School. And finally to Alfie, who's listening all the way across the ditch in Matakana, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And belated birthday shout-outs go to Lillian from Ravenswood, May from Turramurra in Guringai country, and Junta, who's listening all the way over there in Auckland, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And today's classroom shout-outs go to Ms. Lazuk's class at Dacapon State High School, Class 4V with Ms. Villani at New Lambton South Public School in Newcastle, Class 5-6L with Miss Lewis at Millfield Public School, Room 419 with Miss Andrews at Langwarren Park Primary School, Class 3-4S and Mr. Steggles at Northern Beaches Christian School, to all of the Grade 6 students at Mont Albert Primary School, and finally to Class 4 Gold at Mount Carmel Schooling. Yes, and a very happy birthday to Mrs. Shepherd. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow with our very popular Kids vs. Adults weekly news quiz, where you get to test who's been paying the most attention to the week that just was. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.